everybody. And for the last year, my life and my colleague Devin's life has become a more or less obsessive endeavor to address food waste with beer. And you're understandably probably wondering what the connection there is. But I first want to talk about why food waste is such a massive problem. I imagine most people in this room have heard the statistic that 40% of the food produced on our planet that is still edible ends up rotting in a landfill, which, I mean, is truly a catastrophic and unacceptable reality in the 21st century. We have a billion malnourished fellow human beings on the planet, as well as when that food does go to landfill and rot, it emits the greenhouse gas methane, which I actually wish more people were talking about methane because it is 21 times more potent, as this shows, than CO2, and we hear all the time about the catastrophic effects of CO2 on our planet and our physical environments, but methane is actually worse, and the idea that it's coming from something that could otherwise be feeding humans is really deeply troubling. So the connection between food waste and beer is bread, and I do need to be self-aware that I'm talking about really, really serious things, and then I'm also trying to talk about beer. But bread is a way to connect those things because it's actually the food product that is wasted in quantities far beyond any other food product. And when people first hear about this idea of taking bread and turning it into beer, their very awesome reaction is generally, that's great, but shouldn't that bread be going to feed hungry people? And I really, really appreciate it when that is where people's heads are at. But the unfortunate reality is that there is so much bread overproduced on our planet that even soup kitchens and food redistribution programs actually have to turn bread donations away. Those are pictures I took myself while dumpster diving, which I do a lot, all at grocery stores that do donate to City Harvest. I, previous to this, was working at a food program in Nashville, and this really hit home when we went to Whole Foods for a pickup, and there were 5 huge bags of beautiful artisanal loaves of bread, and my boss looked at me and she said, pick 2 and leave the rest. And I was like, okay, but can't we bring them to a homeless shelter? And she kind of looked at me and she was like, that's what we are. And that really, really hit home. And ever since, I've been trying to understand why there is this much surplus bread. And it's frustrating because even people like our friend Peter at Runner and Stone, which is a super sustainable bakery, say that basically bread overproduction is an inherent part of any bakery's model. So that's how it is. So I'm really excited about this idea of taking bread and actually substituting grain and turning it into beer, because beer was originally made in ancient Mesopotamia as a way to preserve the calories in bread for longer. So the idea that we could take that kind of ancient solution and apply it to a very modern problem of surplus is awesome. This kind of concept originated with this guy, Tristram Stewart, who's a pretty rad voice in the food waste movement. He's really brought a lot of attention to the scale of this. And it was only started a year ago in London. So it's kind of insane that we're trying to bring a business that's only a year old overseas. But we know that bread piling up in landfills just isn't going to wait for us. So that's why we are kind of endeavoring to get this off the ground, and why I'm excited about this more than it's cool and it's a sexy kind of way to introduce the conversation about food waste is that 100% of the profits from Toast are going to go to Feedback Global, which is an international nonprofit that does food waste activism both through policy campaigns and awareness campaigns. Which brings me to why we are here tonight. We really, really need some capital to do a pilot batch. And the pilot batch is basically to prove the demand in the New York City market. The concept is proven, but we have to prove the demand. And it's actually just around $1,000. So to win tonight would be a ginormous gift to us. And I'll just finish by saying that I'm personally so excited to be doing this work because some of my food justice heroes around the country have reached out to me and said, bread is always the question mark item in the food recovery space. When can we make toast? And our plan actually is to franchise Toast. Oh, my time's up. But our plan is to franchise Toast and let nonprofits use it as a revenue stream for their own work.